Missionary Pastor Orlando Sanchez is a simple man, but in the hands of an extraordinary God, with an interdenominational ministry of more than 40 years, Pastor Sanchez has preached in over 20 countries across South America, Central America, North America, and Europe. Pastor Sanchez has degrees in theology, missiology, and counseling, and is a licensed chaplain. Pastor Sanchez has studied for 15 years the original biblical Hebrew language, as well as Greek. He received church growth studies with Reverend Hon Do-Kim of South Korea from the second largest church in the world. Pastor Orlando Sanchez is a composer, guitarist, singer, and has recorded 5 studio albums. Through his music and his compositions, the Holy Spirit has touched many hearts. God opened doors to Pastor Sanchez to preach on television and radio. Pastor Sanchez compares the communication media with agriculture. He says, you can count how many seeds an apple has. What you can never count is how many apples a seed will produce. Many other ministries have been raised up from our ministry. Pastors, missionaries, evangelists, teachers, leaders, musicians, worshipers, and men and women of God who are now training others. In the outreach events, you will be able to see each night between 100 to 3,000 souls surrendering to Christ, depending on the size of the room available for that event. Pastor Sanchez always mentions the testimony of his daughter who died and Christ resurrected her. Our ministry has been in small, medium, and large churches. We believe that where God leads, God will do great things. Our ministry also has a social assistance program called The Hand of Mercy. This consists of helping children in need who die of hunger and sick adults living in extreme poverty. This help is done in Los Angeles and Mexico. There is a saying that goes, "A picture is worth 1,000 words." Up next, we will see real testimonies that show how God uses Pastor Orlando Sanchez. My name is Francisco Javier Ramirez Canter. I'm an ophthalmologist. I also have a specialty in occupational health. We know that in the last times God will lift up great men of God, and I have seen that God is using Pastor Orlando Sanchez in a great way, like a scalpel, to heal all those emotional and spiritual wounds in people. I am part of that restoration with my wife, and he's doing it not just in my life, but in the lives of thousands of people who have met him, like someone who God is using in these times for internal healing, even of pastors, and the leadership of not just this city, but other cities. Good afternoon. It is a great opportunity to be able to speak to you today about things that we, as doctors, sometimes don't have an explanation for. But yesterday, after seeing when Orlando began to minister and pray over people, we came to know about Rosenda, who was present during the time of ministering. And after finding out that for 13 years she had hearing loss in her left ear, a few minutes later she was able to hear clearly the sound of the music, something that medically we had not achieved. And the amazing thing is that it wasn't her who had come up to receive a miracle, but it was her husband, a man who had suffered diabetes for 30 years with an ulcer on one of his feet because of a scarring disorder. And this morning, that ulcer was almost completely closed on part of his foot. So we have no option but to recognize that something supernatural happened, that an ulcer would be almost healed in a matter of hours. Here we see a young man who was at a low point in his life, but who God restored through the ministry of Pastor Sanchez, and who is now serving as a youth pastor in his church. We see matrimonies which had problems such as domestic violence restored by the Spirit of God. Like Pastor Sanchez has taught, there is no greater liberation than forgiveness. Here we see Pastor Sanchez ministering to pastors and leaders. As he always says, if I restore a believer, then I restore an individual. But if I restore a pastor, I restore a people.